Hello, my name is Gabriel. I speak some languages. Right now, I would like to talk about listening in a foreign language. Listening is, of course, a very important component of language learning. Because if we don't do enough listening, when it comes to a real conversation, we may not understand what the other person's saying. And that can be a problem. I've come across some talented polyglots that have told me, you know what, I just don't do that much listening. But the interesting thing is that I've noticed that often these polyglots also tell me it takes them a while to actually full on develop a good level of understanding in the foreign language that they're learning. A lot of people feel like it's quite a frustrating thing, especially when you're doing some listening and you can't understand the language that well yet, so you're not really, getting a lot out of it. And I think that it's so important to have audio with text. If you have audio with text, that's a different story. Because if you don't understand a lot of things, you can just go to the text. So by having audio with text, you can essentially do your listening without really worrying about not being able to understand a lot of things. And I'm going to mention this. When I learned French, I actually listened to the radio really, really often. It took a while in order for me to actually develop a good level of understanding. Okay, and I would listen to Radio Canada here in Vancouver. And because I didn't have the text, I would be only listening to the radio. At the beginning, or at least initially, it was a frustrating experience to realize that I wasn't really understanding a lot. I was just struggling to understand it, but as time progressed, and I would always have the radio on in the car as I was driving, my understanding started to improve, and until I got to the point where I could understand basically over 95% of the radio. But what I didn't know back then, and what I didn't do back then that would have accelerated the process greatly, was to essentially focus on text with audio. So if you have text and audio, you can actually progress a lot quicker. Because if you don't understand something, you can just go to the text and learn it. And that way you can learn vocabulary while you're actually optimizing your listening, your understanding. And by doing a lot of listening, you're also going to be improving your pronunciation in the language. Because the more you listen, the more you're going to be able to reproduce essentially the sounds that the native speakers are producing. Sometimes I will be listening very carefully and very actively with the text, studying it very seriously, but often I will just have the audio in the background as I'm doing different things. And I think it's important to balance both of them, to just try to maximize exposure. If you maximize exposure to your language, or to the language that you're learning, you're going to learn faster, of course. But one really important thing is to not stress whenever you don't understand things. As you're learning a language, of course, you're bound not to understand many things because you're learning it. But just be sure that as you listen, you will develop a good level of understanding and you will progress in your target language. So that's it. I hope you do a lot of listening and good luck learning a new language.